Hello, my name is Sarah, and I'm with Crisis Support Services of Alameda County. Our education program, called Teens for Life, has created a video to learn a little bit about depression and how to help. Crisis Support Services is a nonprofit organization. We started over 65 years ago as Alameda County's crisis hotline. We're now staffed with both highly trained volunteers and employees that work on the crisis line and also provide education and counseling services. Our office is located in Oakland and it serves all of Alameda County. Before we begin, it's important to note that this presentation can include challenging topics. We're going to be discussing mental health, including depression. This can cause people to feel overwhelmed, triggered, or uncomfortable. So, if necessary, we suggest to pause the video and take a break. If at all possible, watch where and when you feel safe. If you need emotional help or support immediately, again, stop the video and call either of these two 800 numbers you'll see on the screen. If there's a medical or physical safety emergency, call 911 immediately. This presentation is intended for people between the ages of 10 and 21. Learning objectives. During this video, we're hoping to offer information so that you can walk away with a better understanding of the following things. We're going to talk about why people even talk about depression, whether something looks like a bad day or is depression. We'll talk about the depression warning signs. Treatment and recovery are possible, and we'll also discuss how to help a friend. So, why do people talk about depression? Depression is a common mental illness or challenge in our society. It can affect how a person feels, participates, thinks, behaves, and engages with others. Often, people don't know about or have ever experienced mental health challenges. We want to learn about it together so we can have a better understanding of what depression can look like and also what to do. Learning more about all mental illnesses, including depression, can help remove judgment and increase positive relationships with people. It's important to remember and spread the word that mental illnesses exist and can be highly treatable. So sometimes when we talk about the word depression, it can be a little confusing to figure out if someone has depression or if they're just having a really bad day. We'll talk about what depression looks like next, but this chart simply shows the difference between depression and a bad day. Generally, we think of a bad day only lasting one day, and the next day or days will look and feel better. Sometimes that bad day can be linked to a certain bad experience. Maybe something difficult happened and that really ruined that day. Well, with depression, it's a bit different. With depression, the timeline is much longer than a day or two. Also, things don't seem to return to normal with a little time. And sometimes the feelings and behaviors come about regardless of a specific event. They might come out of nowhere. Depression warning signs. Now we're going to take a closer look at the warning signs for depression. It's important to remember that these signs will come as a change in a person's usual way of being. Sometimes it can be really sudden too. The guidelines say that people with depression will show 5 or more warning signs every day for 2 weeks or even more. This table has some common warning signs. Some include a lack of interest, withdrawing, feeling hopeless, or worthless. Take a moment to read through the entire chart. If you need to, feel free to pause the video. Real life examples. We can hear and read the warning signs, but it's very important that we can recognize these patterns in someone we know. This table of real life examples shows some of the things that you could hear or see when someone is showing warning signs for depression. The sentence, "I can't do anything right," shows someone that might feel worthless. Just leave me alone is something someone might say when they're feeling that they want to isolate or withdraw from friends or loved ones. I'm just so tired all the time. I don't want to do anything. It's important for us to listen to what people say and how they talk about themselves. Depression warning signs can come out in something you might witness in another person. Someone feeling depressed might quit hobbies or activities very suddenly. This might include quitting sports or music, losing interest in video games and cooking or talking on the phone. There might be some noticeable ways a person's appearance might change as well. They might look really tired or have super low energy. They might show signs of issues with hygiene. Maybe a person dealing with depression is unable to regulate their mood. That can be seen with a notable increase in crying or irritability. If you'd like, pause the video now and take a moment to look more closely at the chart. Can you think of any other real-life examples of warning signs? Recovery is possible. So again, why do we talk about depression? It's important to know that recovery and a different way of living can be possible for people. Recovery means regaining health, and it may look differently for different people. It's important to know that depression is treatable. There are two clinically proven ways that people pursue treatment for depression. The first one is prescription medication. Often people will be prescribed antidepressants. The second is working with a doctor, therapist, or other mental health professionals. These people can supply counseling and additional support. When possible, people can also use diet, exercise, socializing, and a variety of other healthy choices to help with depressive feelings. Again, what works for one person might be different for another. A person can keep exploring options until they find ones that work. Hopefully, this brief overview of depression warning signs can help identify when someone might be having a hard time. But if you do notice these things, then what do you do? Here are some key ideas to help a friend. If you see that someone is talking about or showing signs of depression, it's important to ask directly, and you can express opinions or observations during this time. This could sound like, "Hey, I heard you quit soccer. That seems strange. Are you doing okay?" Or maybe, "I've been worried about you. Are you feeling depressed?" However you would authentically and honestly express yourself to this person is how you should bring up any concerns. Oftentimes, someone that is having a hard time dealing with depression and feels alone, they need someone to talk to. It's important to listen, like really listen. Listen without judgment and listen with patience. If your friend tells you something that makes you worry or something you're concerned about, it's important to talk to a trusted adult so that you and your friend can get all the help that's needed. Importantly, you don't have to handle this alone. Sometimes it's really tough to talk about challenging things with adults or ask for help, especially if your friend asks you not to tell anyone. If they ask you to keep it a secret, it's very critical to preserve life over friendship. A friend may be upset that you're asking for help, but it's necessary to try to get someone what they need before something really bad happens. It's better to have someone upset with you than to not have them around. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what adult to talk to. Crisis Support Services has a crisis line and text line so that adult counselors are available whenever you need them to help figure things out. I'm going to briefly go over the crisis and text line information, but I want you to know that we have additional videos on our YouTube channel that go more in depth into this information. Here under Crisis Line, you'll see two phone numbers. The first one, 1-800-309-2131, is our local number for Alameda County residents. The number below is for outside of Alameda County for national. Both lines are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and have translations available. The teen text line is another way that people can talk to adults. SAFE is a word that you can text to 20121 for Alameda County residents to get in touch with a counselor. Different than the crisis line, the text line is only open from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. and at this time is only offered in English. Both the crisis line and teen text line are free and they're private and confidential. There's a couple cases where we have to break confidentiality because we're mandated reporters. Those include when there's abuse of a child or an adult, when there's imminent risk of suicide or homicide. Again, to learn more, see our other videos. Closing thought, depression is a mental health challenge, and it's different than a bad day. Treatment and recovery are possible. It's important that we learn and share education so we can reduce the stigma and increase acceptance. You have the power to help a friend, and you never have to do that alone. Crisis Support Services is here for you. Please remember the numbers. And also, if you have a chance, stay engaged with us on our social media. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and please check out the other videos on our YouTube channel.